So hopefully everybody's having a good morning so far. It's Thursday and I really love Thursdays. Thursdays are like one of my favorite days. Okay, so this one I do apologize if you've been on these for a while. I like when I was going through messages and stuff, I didn't exit out of the ones that I've already done. And so some might be repetitive. I'm trying to find the ones that I've already done before and already like clear them out so I don't redo them. Um, so
Amen.
hopefully this helps, but I know that sometimes it just takes for us to like sit
I
here
think
and hold on, let me mute everybody. Where is this at? There it goes. Okay. Anyways, okay, so this one's called Next Level Thinking. So again, sometimes you just have to hear something like a billion times before it actually clicks. So I think that this is just helpful again. So it says move up to the next level, and then it says in John 5, Jesus met a man who was sick for 38 years. There was a pool of water that people would go to when they needed a miracle. Jesus approached the sick man lying by the pool and asked him, "Do you want to be well?" The man replied that there was no one to help him reach the water. In other words, the sick man made an excuse for why he couldn't be well. Jesus healed the man in spite of his excuse. There is an important lesson in this passage. We must expand our vision, move out of self-pity, and couple our faith with action. We need to move up to the next level. One of the most important things we can do as we move to new levels is to be intentional about who we are, who we surround ourselves with, which we always talk about leveling up our circle anyways and how important that is. And so this can tie into that because even like the Bible is like, hey, level up the people, like you want to hang out with people who have faith and things like that. And even people who don't have faith, you can encourage them to start their faith journey. But anyways, and so it says we need to move up to the next level. One of the most important things we can do as we move to new levels is to be intentional about who we surround ourselves with. Like the sick man in John 5, are you surrounding yourself with others who are sick? Find people who are healthy, whole, and spiritually strong that will challenge you to rise to your potential. Maybe you feel like you can't rise to a new level. Your family has always dealt with certain struggles. You've always lived in a subpar environment. Don't let discouraging voices tell you who you can and can't be. You can be the difference maker. You can be the one to create a new normal for yourself and those around you. Where you come from is not who you are. You are who God says you are. Everything that God creates is a masterpiece. You are made for this struggle more than for struggle, addiction, or anxiety. You are made for greatness, freedom, and peace. We all face unexpected challenges, things we don't understand. In those moments, we have to make a decision that we are going to keep moving forward. In the Bible, everyone who fulfilled the plans that God had for them faced major challenges, death, sickness, enemy, opposition, yet they pressed on. Don't give up. Know that you are equipped by God's Spirit to remain strong enough through every single challenge to take new ground. Keep pressing on toward the new levels that God is calling you to do. So we talk about leveling up in this business, and that can just like, I have really tried just in life in general, trying to level up my circle. For me, I talk about my mom so openly on here, and my mom and some members of my family are just people that I cannot surround myself with very often. And it's not because it's it's an attack towards them, but I know that with the generational curses that are within my family, like alcoholism, and abuse and just things like that, and mental health, like depression, things like that. I know that in order for me to be able to break through those chains that have held me back and held my family back for so long, I have to level up my circle because they're not going to. They're not going to at this point. They're 50 years old. They're 60 years old. They're 70 years old. They're not going to sit here and level up their circle because, and I try to give people grace. And so this is kind of a perspective that I've really tried to have lately to give people more grace. Here lately, like, the older people I've gotten a little bit irritated with in my family because I'm like, why are y'all always so negative? And then I have to think back and I'm like, they were born in different times. They grew up in different harder times. And so I have to give them grace in that aspect. But also I have to sit here and say, okay, they definitely have the decision to still make it through and make a better life for themselves. They just choose not to. And so that's where I've had to sit here and say, okay, where can I level up in my life? And I've really watched over the things that I've spoken over myself. I've really tried to watch of who I gossip about and what I gossip about when someone gets around me and they're just trying to gossip and sit here and talk, which my friend group, like, we're super, super guilty about that. Whenever we get together, we love getting together and having fun, but the one thing we do is gossip. And it just doesn't serve me anymore. And it's not like they don't serve me as a friendship. I love their friendship, but I think that, like, I'm now to this point where, like, what's gossiping going to do? Like, talking about someone's flaws and talking about someone else in their state of life and what they're in, I can't sit there and judge them for it. And so, like, anything in my life that I'm trying to do right now, I'm trying to upgrade. I'm trying to go to the next level. Like with my house, I'm trying to upgrade the furniture. All my furniture is hand me down. So I'm trying to upgrade it little by little by little. And that's such a simple such a simple example, but this applies to anything. And so if you are sitting here and this is a little bit harder for me, so a lot of people probably can relate to this. It's really hard for me to upgrade to people who are faith driven like I am in the town that I live in. And it's not necessarily like people that I hang out with like don't believe in God. It's not anything like that, but they don't show their awareness of God, and they don't show their goodness of like what God's done for them. And they don't sit here and like pray before their foods. They don't sit here and say, oh my gosh, God gave me this today. And like it's very known that like God always says, like, if you are sitting here and you're ashamed of me, like, you need to reevaluate. Like, you need to sit here and say, you need to tell people that you know who I am. Like, that's the blessing that we get to have, is get to share him with people. And I'm very guilty of that. When I get around people that like don't necessarily talk about him as much, then I don't talk about him as much. And it's something that I've really been challenging myself with, and it's very hard and it's very uncomfortable. And I think it's because I never want to offend someone. And Dallas came from a family who was really pushy with faith, and like they were the really old Southern Baptists. If you know anything about that, like they're people who literally look at you in the eyes and they're like, if you don't read your Bible and you don't sit here and do this, you're going to hell. If you don't think this way, you're going to hell immediately. Like I told you this before, but I'll tell it again because it's honestly just really funny. We were at one of his family members' funerals, and one of his family members hopped up on stage, and he's a really old Southern Baptist. He's like 70 years old. He hopped up there and he was like, I just want to let y'all know, if nobody believes in God right now, y'all better sit here and repent, pray right now, because all of y'all are going to hell. And like, just, it was really awkward and weird. And I was just like, and we couldn't help but stop laughing. And we were like, oh, okay. And so Dallas is very turned off by the fact of going to church, because that's what he grew up in. And so I never want to come off in an appearance of like, oh, you have to believe in this, but I do want people to know how strong I am in my faith. So I've been doing little upgrades here and there. So like now when we go out to eat with friends, I've really challenged myself to sit there in silence and just pray over my food. If nobody else is, I'm just going to do it really, really quickly, because someone else that I was around the other day did that. And I was like, if he can do it, I can freaking do it. Like, why am I so ashamed? Like, I talk about him on my story every day. I talk to him about my friends, but when it comes to people that I'm not as comfortable around, I don't talk to him. Why? And so like, it's just really got me thinking. And so I think a lot of us need to upgrade things in our lives. And even when it's as simple, like, and I'll give y'all an example for this, because I've really tried to be more grateful, just in every aspect of my life, because I never want to go a day without being like just grateful for where I'm at. Yesterday I went to the car wash. Okay. A $7 car wash. Okay. Ow. I just hit my thumb. A $7 car wash. Okay, you guys. And through the car wash, those things freak me out. If you saw my story, like, those things really scare me, and I don't know why. They make me very uncomfortable. That was the first time I've been to the car wash by myself. But I was like through the car wash, and I was like, you know what? I would easily take this for granted, but God, I'm just going to say thank you for providing me with that $7 to pay for this, and providing me with transportation in the first place. I will never take transportation for granted, because there are so many people. I live by Memphis, and I can tell y'all from experience, like, if you've never been to Memphis, it's very, 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 very ghetto. Like 90% is extremely poor, and nobody has cars there. They just all walk. And so like, I see that daily, day in and day out, and it brings you back to a state of gratitude. And so I know that's really simple and it's just a car wash, but I'm trying to show you that you can have God pop up in every aspect of your life. And that's what I've really been challenging myself to do, because there are some tendencies that I have that I'm like, this no longer serves me. How am I going to get to the next level? How am I going to sit here and get like God's attention and help other people see that God's through me if I'm not sitting here doing the things that make me uncomfortable? And so I've really challenged myself lately to do things that make me uncomfortable. And it's going well. Like I can tell you that I can see little bits and pieces where I'm starting to like glue the pieces together that wouldn't normally happen. And I don't know, it's gone a lot better. Like I have a friend who is she doesn't it's my best she's my best friend, she's my maid of honor at my wedding, and we've grown up together, but she doesn't believe in God, but she believes in something, and she's open-minded. And I try to like sit here and like I've never been pushy towards her. I've never been disrespectful towards her. I love her dearly, and we just have different viewpoints on things, but she's so respectful of the way that I think. And so we here and there I'll start saying little bits and pieces of the Bible just to educate her on things of what I think, to let her know like there's not a bad side of Christianity. Like it's really good. And so she's seen like bad parts of it too, where people are super pushy, rude, all that good stuff. So it's kind of like paralyzed her. And so just like it used to make me uncomfortable to talk about it. But she asked me the other day, she was like, "What's your favorite music?" I was like, "Christian music." And she was like, "Well, what do you do with this?" And I was like, "Well, I believe this, and this is what the Bible tells me." And so like I'm starting to open up a little bit more. And so I challenge you guys to open up a little bit more. And I know this is kind of on a rant, but I just think that like if we're called to this next level that God wants us to have in our lives, I think that we have to really see the bits and pieces that you can upgrade in your life that you're not doing, and that would normally just be like super simple, but also you would look past it and not even think twice about it, like praying over your food. Like that's so huge. And now Dallas used to not do that, and now Dallas and I do it over every single meal. He mentions it first before anything. He's like, "All right, are we gonna pray?" And I'm like, "This is amazing." Like, it's just crazy to see your work at hand plus over other people. And then it says, where is it at? It says, he asked the man, "Do you want to be well?" And the man replied that there was no one to help him reach the water. How many times have you talked to people or even yourself, and you've been the victim mentality mindset? I talk to, again, my family members all the time. They're so negative. A lot of them are. And I'll like ask them a question, and they're like, "Oh, well, I didn't do this because this person did this, or I didn't do this because this wasn't available, blah, blah." And they just start complaining and starting being victim and just start just giving all the excuses in the world. And I challenge you to see it where you are like that in your own life. And this is a little bit harder because I know that sometimes it's a little bit hard. It's easier to point out our physical flaws, but it's harder to point out like our flaws that normally it's like part of your personality, and I had really good but hard conversations with my leaders the other day, and they told me some things that they didn't like about my leadership. And that was a really hard conversation, but it was needed. It was a very big eye-opener for me to be able to upgrade to the next level. And I'm so freaking thankful for those conversations. And since we're grown adults and we can sit here and have like reasonable conversations, it went so well, and each of us were so appreciative, and we moved forward. And guess what? I feel like I'm a better human and a better leader than I was last week when we had that conversation. Okay. And it wasn't in like you did this. They're like, "This is kind of something that I feel like is making me a little bit uncomfortable." I'm like, fair enough. Okay. So you need someone in your life that's going to tell you like, "Hey, you kind of need to upgrade." Like when I ever fall into a pit of self-pity or something, Morgan, she checks me real quick and she's like, "You're literally self-destructing yourself. Nothing's wrong with you. You're blessed. You're fortunate. You have this great life. You're good at what you do. You just don't see it because you're too blinded by your own insecurities." You need someone to have that self-check with you. And that's why upgrading your circle is so good for you too. And I think it just goes with every aspect in your life. And I know this is like a different topic than I've mostly talked about, but I just think that it's really important for us to see that you can upgrade your level and how much ability and something it can do for you. Like I'll use Emily Parker on here as an example. Like she started coming to me, asking me questions about like prayer. She started asking me questions about manifestation. And we just had like a 20-minute FaceTime. I can't remember how long it was. And she'll text me, ask me questions here and there. And I love it because I love helping people learn. And I've seen such a change in her in such the past month from just doing that. And I'm not saying I'm higher than her at all. I still learn from her too. But I'm just saying like I've definitely have gotten to that next level of thinking. And so surrounding yourself with those type of people, it can change your perspective. And I'm really bad about this too, but I don't surround myself with church people. I really don't. Like I go to church. I have a church that I call home, but I don't surround myself with church people because it scares me. It terrifies me. And it makes me feel like if I get in the church crowd, they're going to like look down on some of the things that I do and I'm like, I don't want this. I don't want to be judged. And so that's honestly a next level thing that I need to do. I need to do small groups. My preacher was like, why don't you do small groups? Like, I think you would be like, it would be really fun for you. And I'm like, that makes me really uncomfortable. I'll just stick to going on Sunday mornings and then not talking to anybody when I go into the church because I hate the little church small talk. Like, these things make me uncomfortable, but I'm telling myself that I'm going to upgrade these, and I'm upgrading just little tiny bits of my life. And I really hope that you guys maybe write down aspects today or see things that you could upgrade. And I promise you, when you upgrade those, you're never like, even if it's like the tiniest thing, like say that you wake up 15 minutes earlier just to start reading your Bible in the morning. I did that before I hopped on Power Hour. Like, I just read my Bible, got my mind straight, and I feel so energized for the day. And just something like that, just a small shift, has really changed the game for me. And I would love to hear like testimonies, maybe of something that you change, that you think of changing, and maybe in a couple of weeks, or maybe even just a couple of days that you see a difference in what it makes for you. But I would love to see that, because it's just like when you are trying to save money and you do something really small at first. So you'll just start saving like $1 a week. Or I know, what is it? Dave Ramsey's book says like save $5 a month. If that's literally all you can save $5 a month. But that $5 is going to multiply. So just like anything else, it's going to multiply in your life. And God, just like I spoke on yesterday, God's in the multiplication business. Like, he's going to bless whatever you put at hand. And so I want you to know, like, whatever you're doing, whatever comfort zone you're stepping out of, he's going to bless it. Okay. And and this is like a little learning moment real quick too. Yesterday I had a talk with one of Rachel Jones' team members. I've partnered up with her, so her and I are pushing for presidential together, and she makes more than me, and she's closer than me, and she teaches me so much every single day. So like, that's leveling up my circle. And so I did that, and she was like, I was telling her kind of like what I was doing with Host to Post, and I was like, I've been doing the same thing for Host to Post for a couple of months now, and now I don't feel like it's working as effectively for me, so it might be time to pivot. And she was like, okay, use this message, because I've been using this, and obviously personalize it to make it your own, but this has been working so well. And I was like, this message makes me cringe so badly. And she was like, oh, it made me cringe too, but stepping outside your comfort zone is going to help you grow, and you're trying to reach a new level that you've never reached before. You need to step outside your comfort zone. And I was like, preach, baby. I'm going to use this message. And every single time I send it, it makes me cringe. But guess what? It's going to exercise that faith muscle and muscle over and over again. And I just feel really confident that I'll see results from it. So that was just a different thing just about the business. But I'm just telling you, like, there's literally so many different aspects of my life that I'm trying to step outside my comfort zone and grow. And I love it. And also it's very uncomfortable for me at the same time. So hopefully this helps and gives perspective, and maybe you can even do something, just a little tiny change today, and I bet you it'll bless you in the tiniest ways, and it'll unlock potential for you, and it'll unlock things in your life that you just never really even thought about. And maybe it'll probably trickle into your team, and so that's what we want. We're in the duplication business. We want to teach duplication. We want to teach others to have blessings poured over them too. So hopefully that helps. Let me stop this